Hello, everybody. So today I have Ron and myself having another conversation. So it's a longer video, but it's his channeled take on some things that I think you will find very interesting. And when he and I have conversation, it's always really deep. And so like I said, like I've said before, get yourself some coffee or tea or just relax in to listen, and see what resonates for you and what might be new information to consider. So I hope you enjoy our conversation today. So a couple of things I just want to comment on, and then I'm going to send you right over. And I'll briefly wrap up with you in the end, like I always do. So a few pieces of information. I hope you made it through the eclipse week along with Lionsgate. Okay, so what they were saying, and personally, I've seen this with clients, I've seen this with other people, that it was a big week as such. Because, we know the energy starts before and ends, well, I don't want to say ends, but integrates throughout. Anyway, what they said to me was the eclipse and all that energy was knocking it out of us. Okay, so what they showed me is they said it's like a period of time from February of 26 when the eclipses started, and then we have the total solar in August, and they're like, this is as we've talked, it's been an acceleration point, and then it kind of like, I don't want to call it shuts the door, but it's like this compressed energy. It's like, okay, now it's all here. It's here, and it's launching us now forward into this time where, and they've said this earlier on, that the rest of the year is going to be significantly different. Now remember, that also can be that way on the collective level, but individually is where all of this is at, where the rubber meets the road. And I have already started to see this with some of my clients where massive shifts and changes, either of things they've been working on, things that don't serve them any longer, things they've been working on, all of a sudden there's the Rubik's Cube moment of a huge shift and change. There's like big changes in people's lives, okay? Now, that could be as simple as, like what's happening with me, a lot of physical stuff, a lot of nervous system stuff going on. So they did say to me also that our nervous system is being rewired. I think we know that, but this is a big year for that, a very big year for that. And what's happening now is this, okay, this is what they're showing right now. There's a lot of energy around this. It's not like that energy ended. It's this cumulative. They've talked about this too. It's cumulative. So it's kind of like vibrating everything else. And it's like from February to August. And some of you maybe describe this differently, but this is how they're showing it to me. And it's just shaking loose. It's knocking it out of us. Okay? So what's happening now is these things are realigning, reshaping, reshifting. And there's a hummingbird outside my window. Oh, that's kind of cool. All right. Anyway, shifting it out of us, and then the change is happening the rest of this year. Now, that's not what I want to say is remember, everybody's on a continuum. This is not a situation where everybody's having the same thing like in their life happen at the same time, but it is leading up to or it is culminating in. Okay? So I just want you to be aware of that's kind of where we're at as we're moving into the rest of we're kind of right now trying to decide what to do with the energy. I wonder how many of you have had really like bodily nervous system kinds of things happening, and whether that's we all run into a lot of fatigue and whatnot, but there's been an acceleration of what it's doing to our systems is what I will just say, because we're shifting and changing. Remember that our body is literally changing. It is absolutely changing. So anyway, I wanted you to be aware of that. I think that's right about now where I'm going to send you over to Ron and myself talking. I hope you enjoy it, and then I'll quickly wrap up with you in the end. Thank you so much for joining me today. Enjoy the video.
I don't even know how to explain what I'm going to say here, right? But so I've been going through this thing now for 10 years, I guess, maybe 12,
About right, like me. Yep.
and I just went around and I started collecting all of my notebooks and scratch papers because I have them all but they're all around the house, just wherever I happen to be sitting, and I start automatic writing, you know what I'm saying? And I'm looking at, I mean, it's huge, right? And I'm like, wow, when I said I was going to bring cursive back, I guess I wasn't joking. I brought cursive back, right?
Yeah.
But then I went and started, well, then I've got recordings, then I've got stuff that I typed out. I mean, I've just got stuff everywhere, and I'm reading this stuff, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's a pattern in here. It's a pattern. And I was like, well, hold on. And it's really weird because I don't want to say it's like, it's not like the team hasn't been talking. They have, but they're, they're, they're like saying, what are you going to do with it? And I'm like, I don't know what to do with it. And I'm coming to this place, right, where, okay, I've got all of this stuff. Like, I don't care if you believe it or not, but shouldn't I like be handing this off to somebody or something? You know what I mean? Like, what? So anyway, I just I sat down one night and I just started writing. Now, this isn't automatic writing. I just started writing. And I was like, okay, and
A
I
lot of
don't know.
energy around this conversation.
Oh yeah. But like, I don't know. I want to say like 10 hours later,
Oh,
I've got like
what?
60 or 70 pages. Yeah.
See, this is
There's,
you go into that phase where it feels probably like 10 minutes at times. Do you know what I mean? Like
oh
it's
yeah, this was,
focused phase of like everything comes out. 10 hours. Oh my God.
I
This
sat
is
down and the sun was coming up. And then when I looked out the window, the sun was going down.
but
Wow,
this
this
is
is weird.
you. This is this you and you
It
said you
is.
weren't automatic writing, but you were channeling for sure. Like
No,
that.
no, yeah, no. I'm just writing
Yeah.
and I'm, I don't know how to explain it. Like the team wasn't saying, "Hey, write this, write that,
No.
do this,
No.
right." They weren't doing that.
Yeah, I get it.
They were like, "Okay, what do you?" They're asking like, "What would you want to say?
Mhm.
What would you want to tell people?
Mhm.
What is it that you think people need to know?"
See, and your higher self comes in and goes, just starts writing.
And yeah, to a degree, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're conjoined with it now because of the work you've
Oh
been
yeah,
doing. And so
yeah,
you
yeah.
get a more accelerated you, is it what I'll say.
Yep, exactly. And so I'm writing and I got done with them, and I read what I wrote and I was like, nope, delete, it's gone. And I sat down and started writing again. And then there's this energy.
Mhm.
I haven't given it a name. It's different. I don't mean like it's not one of the normal energies I'm dealing with, but it's different. I don't even know how to describe it. It's different. Like it comes in and kind of hugs me, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It's like it wraps me up in a bear hug, and I'm sitting there and I'm, okay, what do I do with this? But when I relax into it, all of these, I'm just going to call them trauma events, come in, well, come out, right? But at the same time, there's a, there's a, I just call it right now, I just call it a love event that comes in one for one, right? And I'm going, okay, what are we looking at here? And so I got to thinking about there was a time when I was in the military and we got out on a 2-day pass or whatever, and I got on my motorcycle and I just went driving around. And back then, I mean, I would drive all night long because I was in California and it's in
Mhm.
the summertime, so you could do this, right? And I went to a beach and the moon was rising. It's like 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, some crazy thing. And I'd never even heard of a grunion run before.
A what?
But I'm down on the beach. It's called a grunion run.
Okay.
Grunion are little fishes, like maybe about that.
Oh, oh,
But I didn't know that in their mating season or whatever they're doing, they don't wash up on shore, but they swim up on shore. and then the waves will come in and wash them back out, and they'll do this thing. So I had stopped by the beach, and I was just walking down the beach, and all of a sudden I realized like the whole beach is moving, it's flapping, it's flipping,
Oh,
it's
that must be wild.
and it was this awe moment,
Yeah.
and that little thing right there started this whole thing. So I said, "Okay, team, what's awe? What is that? We say that word, we think we know what it means. What is that?" And this energy says, "Well, it's a symbol." And I said, "Yeah, I get that. It's a symbol. We're something's behind the word awe. That's what I'm asking. What's behind the word awe?" And this energy's like, "Well, what's behind the symbol?" And I don't know why it was the way the question was asked. And I said, "Well, it's a compression." Now I'm thinking in computer language right now, right?
Oh,
So I'm like,
right.
it's a compression. They go, exactly. And they literally said, it's a zip file.
Huh? They use technology all the time with me too. God.
And I was like,
Yes.
okay. Now, this is the weird thing. I knew this,
So they're saying awe
but I
is a
didn't.
zip file.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the word awe
Yes.
is a zip file,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But when they said this, like, I knew this, but I didn't connect this.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? Like,
Yes.
as soon as it says, like, oh, yeah,
Mhm.
like, oh, yeah, I know that. Then they said, and I said, well, what's in the zip file? And they said, well, you tell us. And I was like, so, I sat here for probably 3 hours, and I must have recited what awe is in 50 different ways and used
Wow.
every word in the English dictionary to
Oh
describe
my
it.
gosh.
Hyperboil, and they said, yeah, well, that's great. That's wonderful. Do you understand that every word that you used is a compression? And it started to dawn on me like a slow rolling wave. It just started to dawn on me, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. So you and I talking right now, we're having this intercourse back and forth.
Mhm.
What am I giving you? I'm giving you a compression. I'm trying to take an emotion, a feeling, something, and I'm putting it into this little file called the Word.
Yes, I was just going to say it's the
I'm
word. Oh my
handing it
God.
over to you. Now, my operating system, my sensors, and all of this stuff compressed what I'm experiencing in that word. You're going to decompress that word, but you can't feel what I'm feeling.
Mhm.
You can't experience what you don't even unpack it the same way that I meant it. That's not a bad thing or a good thing. And
Yeah.
then this whole thing started to just, it literally just kind of laid out just like this, right? And I was like, wow, okay, wait a minute. So that means I go back to this night. So there's this one night, and they keep bringing it up to me more than I bring it up to them. But I was driving home from California to Michigan. I was in the military. It was this hell of a snowstorm was going on, right? And I'm in Utah. And there's a tractor trailer in front of me. And literally, if I got more than like 3 feet behind that trailer, I couldn't see the road.
Oh yeah, I'll bet.
And the snow was so deep, my tires were just going in the paths that the tractor trailer was cutting in front of me. So I'm like, and it was nerve-wracking and hair-raising and all this stuff, right? And we were going up a mountain in Utah towards Cisco, but I didn't realize it. And just like this, I mean, it's just like we're driving. I go through this little thing. There's no snow, there's no clouds, there's no weather. We just come out above the storm. And when I looked, to the left and to the right, I'm looking across the top of the clouds. And it was the most breathtaking scene, right?
Yeah.
But then as I'm going across that road or that highway, the moon starts to rise over here. And I mean, it was so freaking huge. When I was looking at the moon, I couldn't see the sides of it. It was like the moon was parked right next to the earth and it's rising up. And I just pulled the car over. I turned my truck off. The the semi trailer went way out ahead of me. So I'm standing there in the middle of nowhere. It's granite rock everywhere. So the moonlight is reflecting in this pale bluish color. There's no sound, nothing. It's like negative 27
Oh my
degrees.
God.
And I'm just standing there and I'm watching this moonrise and I have absolutely there's no, I'm totally awestruck. I'm just standing there. And the only thing I thought was, I wish there was somebody here, right? I wish somebody could see this with me because I'm never going to be able to explain this to anybody.
Oh yeah, the word, right? Could have never explain.
Drove
Yes,
away.
that's a great
Well, after
example.
after after my hands were like ice cubes and my eyeballs were frozen in my head, I was like, I better get back in the truck. This is not good. So anyway, I drove away. So, but this keeps coming up, right? So they're bringing up this thing, and they said, okay, so you need to understand, Ron, you're looking at this inverted. And I was like, well, I figured that out like 10 years ago. That's what I'm trying to figure out is how to invert it, right? And this energy, it's very encouraging is the only word I have, right? And it said, okay, so let's ask this question. What relationships have to be present for somebody, or I'm sorry, for something to occur? And I was thinking about it, and my mind immediately went to the fire triangle. You got to have oxygen, fuel, and heat to have a fire. Take any one of those away, and you don't have a fire. And I was like, okay, that makes sense, I guess. So no, you need to understand that everything's an energy. Everything is this energetic representation of something, and you're in a great big soup of energy. It's called the ether. And these things move around, and when they come together, something happens. And it's like, oh, this is like when you put, pure potassium and water together, it explodes. Okay, I get it, right? And they're like, right. So think about they brought up the moonrise. What relationships had to present to see that? And I was like, well, that's a really profound question. Why was I even driving home in the first place? What was I doing? And at the time, my youngest sister had tried to kill herself. So I was driving home to see her. Um, a whole series of events had happened up to that, where when I went in to get the money from the credit union and I was talking to the lady and told her what was going on, and she goes, well, do you need a loan? And I was like, well, that would be really cool if I could do that. And 15 minutes later, they had me a $500 loan, just like that.
Oh,
It was, what relationship caused that to happen? And then my brain starts doing this decrescendo. Okay, this is what occurred. So what relationships were here? What relationships were here? What relationships were here? And I was like, holy cow, wait a minute. Okay. So all of this starts to coagulate, I guess, in my head. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna go, okay, that's cool. And then they take me back to the moonrise. And they said, well, why did you want somebody there? And I said, well, because I would never be able to explain it to somebody. I could never share the magnanimousness of that event.
You
I
know, and
could,
even photography doesn't do it.
right.
You
Well,
know what I mean?
that's a
I mean, it gets
compression.
closer, but it's an impre yes.
It's a compression. Everything's a compression. And you got to hang on to that.
That's
Everything
so good.
is a compression except for what we are experiencing right now. That's the only real thing or uncompressed thing is right now. What we just talked about 30 seconds ago, we've already compressed and put into memory.
Oh, I
It's
see.
already there,
Yes.
right? So I'm going, okay, so if you think about that,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
everything is this compression, right? Well,
Compressing
what
a
happens?
file, all the things that have occurred, they just,
Yep.
yeah.
So let's go back to the
Wait a
moon
minute.
landing.
So something else that lines up with the compression idea is we never have, so compression, you think about it, it doesn't have the full extent. Like our memory, we only remember parts of things. We don't
Right.
can't reenact the
Yes.
whole thing again. And we miss parts that we
You're
saw.
taking the
Do you know
words
what I'm
right out
saying?
of my mouth here. Yeah. Because in the compression event, what do? And where I took this and where I continue to put it is in a photograph analogy, right? So back in the day, I don't know if you remember, but everybody was arguing about what's better, film or
Yeah.
digital, right? But at the end of the day, digital, no matter how huge of a sampling rate you put on it, you are discarding data. Our brain has to do the same thing. It's a very, very finite window that we can see, so we have an experience. So if I said, hey, what did you have for dinner 2 weeks ago, last Friday, or 2 weeks ago on Friday, right? And you might remember it was beef stroganoff or something, whatever. And I said, well, what did you have with it? You're struggling, right? Did you use garlic butter or real butter? Did you know, blah, blah, blah. All that data is gone
Yep.
because your brain compressed that.
Into one thought or idea, like a summary. It's like a summary,
Exactly.
but and the
Exactly. Good
summary
way to
never
put it.
gives the detail.
Yep. So then we started talking about trauma. What is a trauma event? Now, for me,
Oh my God. And then during the awakening, the zip file opens up from
um,
trauma and it all comes flying out. Oh
but
my
it
gosh.
doesn't,
Okay. Anyway.
but it doesn't, but it
Oh, okay.
doesn't
Okay.
because it's compressed. You
Oh, I
don't
see what you're
have all
saying.
the
You're
data.
right. You don't have
You
all the
don't
memory.
have all the
So
data.
the compressed part's the only part that then shows up which
Right.
is what you're dealing with. I understand what you're saying. Yes,
Exactly.
that's actually what I meant. Yes. Yes. But
So when I was,
all the compressed stuff comes flying out at that level that
yes.
it's been, yeah,
Oh,
remembered.
yeah.
Right.
Well, what's interesting is back when I was doing counseling and I would work with people with PTSD or whatever, which lo and behold, I have.
Yeah.
I made up a term. As far as I know, I'm the only one that ever used it. It's called a PITR, point in time reference. And so that's what trauma is. There's a point in time, your brain locks a picture
Mhm.
and it says, I have to survive this, whatever this is, right? So your action is encoded, and I just relate it to like CPU cache, right?
Mhm.
It's an executable instruction that's right there. The CPU can grab it. So all it has to do is sense something similar is happening, and you all of a sudden re-execute that survival code, right?
Yes.
You don't want to do that, but that's unfortunately that's what happens. So anyway, I'm like, okay, but that's a compression. So every time you tell the story, you're updating the story and then recompressing it. So now what happened, what
Oh,
you're calling may not be exactly
yes,
how it happened.
exactly.
Once this landed, the movie with Denzel Washington, Courage Under Fire, came into my mind. And I don't know if you ever saw that movie, but it's definitely worth a watch. But in the movie, Denzel Washington is playing the part of this tank commander, and he was in a battle in Iraq or Iran or wherever it was at. And enemy tanks had infiltrated the tank line, and he shot a tank, but it was a friendly tank, and it had his best friend in it. So he killed that tank crew.
Oh,
But when you're brought into the story, you don't know that's what happened. All you know is he's spiraling out of control. He's become an alcoholic. Uh, his marriage is falling apart. You know, all of these
yes.
things are happening. Whatever, right? Later in the movie, much later in the movie, the guy that is his commander gets a recording of the actual battle and plays back what happened. And then you get to see the disconnect between his character and what he's remembering and where he's stuck. I shot my friend.
Yeah.
I I killed my own people. That's where he's stuck.
Mhm.
In the recording, he realizes what happens. He tells all the other tanks to turn on their road lights. So now they can identify who's who in the tank line, and they don't have any more friendly fire incidences. But his brain can't remember that part until it's played back to him. And then all of a sudden, he can start putting into perspective. Now, it was bad enough what happened, but he could start putting it into perspective. And I won't spoil the movie, go watch the movie, but so many things happen there. And I'm like, holy cow, it's a compression. We're literally looking at a
Right.
compression. Okay, cool. So then I was like, okay, so let's talk about the trauma thing again. What is trauma? Well, trauma is awe. And I was like, okay, what does that mean exactly? What does that mean? He said, they were like, well, think about it. If you have limited processing power in the biological service unit and you are presented with something that is bigger than you can process, what happens? And I went back to the computer analogy and I said, okay, so we have a buffer overrun or, whatever. No, exactly. So what happens is instead of your brain processing what's going on, your body stores
Oh, yeah.
that data. Well, that brings up a book. There's a book out there called The Body Keeps the Score.
Oh,
And
right.
it's a gentleman that works with PTSD, and he talks about how trauma is encoded, and it's a fantastic book.
Oh, good. I'm going to
But
write.
all of a sudden, that comes crashing back into my head, and I'm going, oh, wait a minute. Like, I know this, but I don't know that. You know what I mean? It's like I've got all the bits and bobs, but I hadn't connected them together. So now
Yes.
everything's connecting together. And then I said, okay, so then what's awe? And it just spilled out of my mouth. I just like said it. It's like awe is when you experience something that exceeds your capacity to take it in.
Oh, and
And your
trauma will
body
do that
literally
too.
goes in, your body just goes into this halt state.
Trauma will
And
do
it's
that too, then. Yes.
yes, exactly. You're just experiencing this buffer overrun of
Like
information.
an overwhelming. Your
Exactly.
system, your nervous system, the system cannot handle it.
Exactly. It's not that it can't handle it. It can't process it as fast as the data is coming
Oh,
at you.
that's good. That's a good way to explain it.
Right. So
Okay.
so like my moonrise,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
standing there, I'm looking at it, right? So, okay, I'm cool with that. So we go back to what relationships now. It's important to understand what relationships are present to make something appear or manifest or present, whatever. And it just like unlocked in my head. I'm like, holy cow. So that means, now let's think about it realistically, right? Got a woman in it could be a man, but I'm just picking a woman because it's most common. a woman in an abusive relationship with a man. Um, and because she's in that relationship, she's doing certain survival things. So she's drinking or taking drugs or I don't know, going to the movies every night or whatever is happening, right? Well, think about the relationships that are present now. So she's consented to stay in proximity with this guy who's abusive. And to do that, her body has to compensate because now of the trauma of being abused. So how does she do that? She offloads that onto something else, drinking, whatever, some coping mechanism, whatever
Okay.
she's doing, right? But now let's just say that it's drinking. The drinking is secondary. That's a secondary relationship to the primary, which is
Right.
staying with the guy. And I'm just going, holy crap, wait a minute. So that gives us a very viable diagnostic if we're willing to look at it. And it comes back to, and this, they told me this, right? This comes back to your own idea of consent and imposition. You've got it 100% right, but you don't understand where it's reaching into. And I was like, oh, it was kind of like, I know
Yeah.
that, but I
Yeah.
didn't know that. I keep having this. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm there, and then this is happening over several days now, but I'm sitting here and I don't remember what I watched. Something came up in my YouTube feed, whatever, and I'm like halfway pondering now all of this big concept thing that I just told you. And something come up on the YouTube feed, and I was like, oh, what's the manifestation power or some I don't know what the heck it was, something, whatever. And I'm watching it and I'm going, holy cow, wait a minute. I mean, it was just everything about it. Don't get me wrong. It's the normal stuff I would watch all the time.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, everything about it is just completely grinding on me. And I'm like, okay, what is this? Right? But I just use my own thing. I said, okay, so what relationships are present here right now? And it spare you all the boring details, but I come down to this one thing and it's like, wait, somebody's telling me this is what I have to do to make my life align, be better, manifest whatever I want or whatever, right? Okay. So I don't know if you've ever heard the name Richard Feynman before, but
I know.
Richard Feynman has this, he was a Nobel Prize winning,
Heard Feynman,
worked on the
but
Manhattan Project, all
oh
this
yeah, yeah,
stuff,
yeah, yeah.
right?
Okay.
Um, but he had this really simple thing to think better, right? And he says, when somebody gives you a big word, manifesting,
Mhm.
and then they give you all the stuff underneath of that, what you got to do, how you do it, whatever, just take the word off of it and then ask yourself the same questions. What am I being told here? And I said, so if I went and did that, what's happening? Well, when I took that word of, I think it was manifest the life you want or manifest the something you want or whatever. But I took that off and I'm going, hold it. Look at this. This is imposition. I'm not being invited into something. I'm being told to do something. Oh, so where I'm at right now is what are you sovereign? You're sovereign, right? What does that mean? What is uh uh Carolyn is a sovereign being. What does that mean? Right? What does that word sovereign mean? And anyway, so I'm these are the questions I'm asking, right? Then what relationships have to be present for Carolyn to be sovereign? Because the word sovereign is a compression all by itself, right? Big one. So this is one of the questions I'm always asking is like, okay, so how does love play into this? Because love is like one of the ultimate compressions, right? It can mean so many different things. And I'm sitting here and again, the higher self's talking to the lower self. I don't have a name for this particular energy. And it's like, okay, so what is love then? And I said, okay, well, love is, I rattled off again. I just got out the dictionary and started reading down the list of synonyms, right? So, nope, love isn't any of that. And I was like, oh, he said, those are all the nouns. That's what you go do. He said, but the thing is, it depends on you. How do would those synonyms present from you? Because you have to ask yourself the same question. What relationships present that would allow me to get the butterflies in my stomach, you know, whatever, or arousal or desire, whatever, right? What relationships are presenting because they're not the same. I could have the same relationship or the same things, the same relationships present talking to you.
Yeah.
They will
Because love
produce
isn't just a
one outcome.
romantic notion. It's
Right.
all layers.
Same things could happen with another woman, though, in a
Mhm.
whole different set of
Yes.
responses or manifestations would happen.
Yes.
And I'm going, oh, okay, that's really interesting, right? That's really interesting. So, so, so I'm back at we're all one.
Hmm.
So whatever I'm doing to another person, I'm doing to myself. I have that. That's rock solid in my mind. I'm not saying it can't be challenged, and I'm not saying I can't be wrong, but right now I can't find a way that that's wrong. Unless I just accept that we're all little blobs floating, we can't. There's just too much evidence to suggest otherwise. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, so what does that mean then? Well, now think about it. For yourself, if you said, well, I'm sure you've asked this question. If I ask you, Carolyn, how do you want to be loved?
Hmm.
How do you answer that question? You answer it with a bunch of verbs.
I was just going to say a couple of them. Yes. Kindness, respect. Yes.
Yep, all those things, right? So all those things, but what do they look like? How does that how does that how does that produce or how does that communicate or how does that create the intercourse, if you will, where I can communicate that to you and you would communicate back to me, or I
Yes.
should say you respond back to me in a way that we could say, hey, we're in love.
Hmm.
And love is a
Hmm.
total misnomer, but we could say that, right?
Yes.
Because that's how we've been taught. And I was thinking, I was like, whoa, hold on. Because let's look at the other side of it than love. So I've already uh, determined that the opposite of love is betrayal.
Hmm.
So what is betrayal and what is betrayal doing? So, we would all have our own compressions on that too, what that is, right? But then it just here it is, right? If I said, what does it look like for Carolyn? Like if you ask me, Ron, what would it look like so you would know that I love you, right? How would I answer that question? Right now, I'd answer that question is I would see, hear, feel, touch, experience you protecting my ability to emerge or evolve without you imposing your expectation of what I look like in that. Now, think about what I just said for a
Yeah,
minute.
that's deep.
Because what happens, if you're fair about it, you can think about you are in HR, so you know exactly, you've already experienced it, you know what I'm talking about. Somebody says, take the word love off now, just like Feynman says, take the word love off. What are
Hmm.
we doing?
Hmm.
What makes you, or what do you do to be able to be in my personal space? That's my expectation of you. It's not who you are. So think about that. What do we do with our kids when we're raising them? What happened to us when we were kids and we were being raised? And you presented some quirky thing like, I wanted to be an artist. But the man that raised me said, artists are pussies. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So he says that to me. He has now imposed his expectation onto my emergence.
Oh, yeah.
Imposition. Now, if you take that to its extreme, that is a betrayal.
Oh,
That
good
is not
point.
love. That is a betrayal.
Kind of to
I'm
your
telling,
sovereignty, kind of to that sovereign idea. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, that's what this all is. Exactly. So what is the sovereign being, right? The being who has the ability to emerge and change. I'm sorry, change and adapt as they emerge,
yeah,
which is what this whole awakening journey is.
yes.
What you were last year, last week, yesterday, 10 years ago, it's gone,
Mhm.
right? Now you can go and reopen that compression, but what are you going to do? You're going to update that compression with all of the information that you have now, and then you're going to recompress it. And then if I ask you 10 years from now, you're
Interesting.
going to give me this mishmash of maybe it was 10 years ago, maybe it was 30 years ago, maybe it was last week, who knows? Because you already rewrote the compression.
Yeah, the only time you see the fullness is like you just said, now I understand this, is right
Yeah,
now, this
is
moment.
right now. It
And
is,
then that's gone.
yep, exactly. It's not that it's gone, it's just compressed,
Yes, exactly.
right? It's just
Yes. Oh,
compressed.
God.
So we're going through with all of these compressions, right? But the idea is, or the way that this was or not unraveling, but unpacking in me, you gotta go back. How you unpack my compression is not how I compressed it. Now, if you just think about in a normal husband-wife relationship or boyfriend-girlfriend relationship or like whatever, right? Well, what's going on there, right? So think about that. If it's, I got to be careful how I say this because I'm going to compress it all by itself. But if you go into it and you have that freedom now to emerge as who you are, warts, bumps,
Yeah.
whatever it can all be. And the other person is absolutely, I'm not saying that they're going, oh, that's like the wonderful thing. It's just, no, I understand that's who you are.
Yes.
And
Oh my God.
with that, as I see this emerge, I want to stay with you,
Right.
right? So now think about what you're actually communicating. Love. Almost every word you can think of fits into that little definition right there. It is literally, I understand you're emerging as a human being. So we got married 25 years ago. It's unrealistic for me to expect that you're the same woman I married 25 years ago.
Right.
However, that's not the way it works out.
No.
That's not the way it's like, no,
Oh
when I
my God.
married
Because
you,
that's a more
you're this.
elevated, what you're talking about is a more elevated way, more conscious way of understanding
Well,
each other.
what was what's present in here, right, is now keep in mind, I've just unpacked you like 30 days, 40 days worth of stuff here. I just sat down and I started writing a thesis. Boom, boom, boom. I'm hammering this thing out. Just boom, 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 right? And I'm bringing in all of the various books and experiences and movies and songs and all the, and I'm like, look, here's the same pattern. Strip off astrology, astronomy, physics,
Mhm.
uh, emotional well-being, Strip off all of those titles and look at the patterns underneath, and they're all the same. Doesn't matter if we're talking about Maxwell's equations on frickin' electromagnetism or we're talking about boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. The pattern is the same. There's an emergent pattern that happens. Why does this happen? Because there's a set of relationships that have come together to make it happen. Why is it over here? This boy and this girl that have been the best friends, through their childhood, all of a sudden are getting married when they're 20. What relationships presented for that to happen? Everything's an energetic relationship, which means, for the most part, as long as something isn't being imposed on you, and I got to clarify that, but as long as it's not being enclosed on you, you can decide to change that relationship structure. Oh, you're in a relationship with an abusive mate? Leave.
Hmm.
But you'll get but wait a minute, what about, and oh, I don't, and I can't, and oh,
Or I fear.
exactly. Whatever it is, right? But what you're saying is, I choose to maintain the relationships that allow this abuse to happen.
Mhm.
Change one thing, one major thing, and it all stops, right? I'm saying get out. I'm not, just leave. You know what I'm saying? But change one thing. Uh, get the police involved. Make the abuse known in a public circle, right? Where that person now cannot hide inside of that
Right.
relationship and doing what they're doing because that's normally what's happening.
Mhm.
So you change any one of those relationships and it changes the output.
Right.
Oh, now here's the thing. You have the you have the control to change the relationships, but you can't determine the outcome. So you may make a change out of that abusive relationship and rechange the relationships that you're in, and maybe things go really well. Maybe things go really bad. Point being, re-examine the relationships that are presenting and change one of them, and you change the whole dynamic again.
Yeah.
What they wanted to, what they were telling me, what just like really, really, really hard is you don't get to determine the outcome. You have to do
Oh,
this.
there you
You can make
go.
a plan.
Yeah.
You can make a plan like, hey, I want to do this, this, and this, and it's going to get me to here. But you know as well as I do, as soon as that plan makes contact with the real world, that usually doesn't work out that
Mhm.
way.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean you still can't get to where you want to go. It just may not be the path that you initially started taking,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And I'm sitting here and I'm going, holy cow. Well, then the Bible part of my brain kicks in, and like if you think about every one of the parables, they're all telling you the same thing. They're literally all telling change the relationship, change the relationship, change the relationship. And I'm going, holy cow, okay,
And
hold on.
it's like I'm getting this. This makes so much sense to me. It's the spiritual awakening journey and what I do. It's change your relationship to that thing,
Right.
to that. Like a lot of it is like, yeah, see it differently or change the relationship of to the person, to the
Yeah.
thing. And then it shifts
Well,
everything. And your perspective changes. And then your actions
yes.
change from that new perspective.
But let's go one step farther now. Because I walked through this, right? And this was part of, I'll tell you this in a second, but so I'm writing out this thesis, right? And I'm like, okay, so the only way that this survives is when it makes contact with the real world because it sounds all really cool, but it's got so I started floating it around to some friends and some people to kind of review it and look at it. And first off, nobody can believe that I'm doing it. Um, Second, well, I got to tell everybody, don't think that I wrote all of that, right? And I got all those words right. I'm having AI do my proofing and all of this stuff, so I make sure that my spelling and punctuation is correct. But all of the concepts and ideas in it are mine,
Yes.
right? So here they're here and they're like, man, this is mind blowing. But how does this relate to you? I
They're
said, oh,
saying that
okay.
to you. They're saying that to you. Okay.
Yeah. And I said, okay, first failure making contact. But I sat down and I was sitting here thinking about it. And again, higher self talking to the lower self. This didn't really fail. Just how do you apply what we've talked about here to yourself?
Hmm.
How do you love yourself? That one, I had to sit with a while. I was like, well, wait a
That's
minute.
really good.
How do you do that, right? Because you're the one looking at yourself and you're going to be biased. You can't help but be
Oh
biased.
gosh,
And you've
yes.
got paradigmatic assumptions and you've got
Ugh.
just cognitive dissonance and you've got all these things. And I'm like, how, how would you? And they said, think about where you are right now. Now, this is what I was going back to when I said I got to bring this in, right? I'm like, I'm reviewing my life, I'm looking at all these intersection inflection points and I'm going, holy cow, that was a time jump, that was a timeline jump. This was a timeline jump. This was a reversion, you know what I mean? Like what was I thinking there? Why did I do that? And all this stuff. And then it just landed. My own term. You got to go through it to get to it.
Do it.
And you started out the conversation saying the same thing about your hair color.
Hmm.
I'm just not going to play that game anymore.
Hmm.
I am however old you are, right?
Hmm.
My body is going through that motion. That's the reality of where that's at. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not embarrassed by it.
Exactly.
I mean, not saying that, hey, I love it, although I
Yeah.
have heard people say that they love getting gray hair because for
Yeah.
whatever reason, but that's cool. That's
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But the point is not to critique or judge
Oh
your
yeah.
own emergence.
Yes. God, that's so good. And it's energetically sapping too. It doesn't let you
Yes,
live in your fullness of who you really are.
exactly. And we got into there's a whole thing on that, but it's literally so what you have to understand first is you inherited, and it's not good or bad, it's just the way the system works. You inherited a bunch of relationships from your parents. How did they let you emerge? What was considered good? What was considered bad? What was considered irreverent or invariant or what am I saying? Whatever it is. Go ahead.
Let me add this. So when you
Yeah.
said how they let you emerge, and then think about the generational part, think about how we grew up. Like we were all over the place, freedom,
Yep.
neighborhood, going all over the place. Nowadays, it's totally
Yep.
different. Like you think about that kind of emergence too. It's really
Oh yeah. No, no,
fascinating.
it goes from parents to family to immediate social group, i.e. your school, your church, whatever. And then of course it goes out to state and then it goes to country, then it goes to world,
So
right?
interesting. No wonder this is a journey back to self.
Exactly.
Because think about that.
Yes. This is exactly what it's telling us. It's like you have to come back to you. But here's the thing. When I'm sitting here and my mind is churning all of this. So now remember, you pick the path. And I was like, did I? You know, no, no, no. You picked the path. So you're not a victim in anything.
Yeah,
Not saying that you weren't victimized,
right.
but you're not a victim. You chose this path so you could get to this conclusion. What systems presented along the way that are bringing me to this conclusion? I already defined the path. And I'm just sitting there, but and I'm going, wow. And like in a matter of about an hour, my whole life, my relationship to my own whole life changed. And I'm going, holy cow, wait a minute. But what's bizarre about it, again, going back to this guy that raised me, extremely abusive, alcoholic type of thing, all of a sudden, and I literally mean all of a sudden, I'm remembering the good times.
Ah,
Just like in the movie Courage Under Fire, all of a sudden now I'm getting the second or the other side of the story because something, and I'm going to say there's an energetic block in me. So unforgiveness or um, unwilling to acknowledge maybe is the better thing.
mhm.
It becomes an energetic block. It's literally like
For sure.
cut you off from certain memories, right? All of a sudden, I'm remembering when we were fishing in a freaking canoe and it flipped over. I'm remembering running into sand dunes on Lake Michigan. I'm remembering when we took this freaking snowmobile ride and when we were riding, there was a snowdrift and it looked like it was flat across, but we rode the snowmobile out there and then there was a hill that went down like 15
Oh
feet and
God.
we were buried in the snow. And I mean, like,
God.
and I'm laughing my ass off. I'm just like literally like laughing and I'm going, oh my gosh, where's all this been locked up? Then the question came back. What relationships were present to exclude that?
Yes.
And I'm going, holy
Yes.
cow, wait a minute. So it's all these energetic things. However, now we got to go back to that sovereign part, right? Because I'm like, okay, so if love is this action where I protect somebody else's emergence without imposing my own expectations on it. And then when I look at myself, it's protecting my own emergence without applying my own bias to it, right? And then learning how to, I guess it would be learning how to live with what's emerged,
Yeah.
right? If that's that, then what's the goal? Like, what's the okay, cool, that's love. That's define love. That's define love. Okay, so what's above that, right? Well, think about it in the simplest terms, but you, again, the word I'm going to use here is a compression, right? So you got to kind of parse it apart, but it's unity, but not unity in sameness. You and I aren't the same. We become extremely coherent with each other,
Mhm.
like a resonant note, right? And I'm going, oh, okay, cool. Well, then they brought up something I've been working through, right? Which is, I call it the invisible third. So when you and I come together right now, we've created a field.
Mhm.
And what is emerging between the two of us, you couldn't do on your own, and I couldn't do on my own.
Right.
This field, coherent field, and because we are protecting how we're emerging, what emerges is bigger than the two of us. And now, if you could put that across the whole community, if we were all doing the same thing, what emerges? I mean, I don't know what emerges, but what has the potential to emerge? But we've taken unity and boiled it down to the sameness component, right?
Right.
If you're going to be in the Democratic Party,
Oh God,
you
yeah.
have to have unity. You all have to be the same. If you're going to be in the Republican Party, and it's been broken down into this unity means sameness, and it's not sameness at
Mhm.
all. It's coherence, it's resonance, it's being able to come in with the other person and amplify the energy that's there already very naturally.
Good point.
That's coherence in a
Yes.
sense, right?
Yes.
And I'm going, oh, wow. Wait, like, wait. Um, so but this is all happening in this very low key, like in the, but here's what's happened now. Like I told you that one day, like my whole life and how I relate to my life just all of a sudden was like flipped, like flip. I watch things now and I can literally feel when somebody's putting their expectation on me. I can watch political commentary. I can watch news commentary. I can watch sitcom. And somebody saying, this is how you should be.
Oh, see, this starts,
This
this
is
helps
what
me to
you
start to
should
see
think.
everything differently. Like,
Yes, this is
wow.
what you, and I'm going, this is so freaking subtle.
Yeah.
Like, what? What? Like, I literally just have to turn everything off now,
Yeah.
not because I don't want to watch it. It's because I can literally feel this is, if you don't believe this, you're not patriotic. If you don't believe this, you're not a citizen. If you don't believe this, you're not loving. If you don't, and I'm like, who the hell gives you that right?
Right. Because this is what starts to happen in the waking journey where we start moving away from all that stuff because it just doesn't resonate anymore. It's so
But
natural.
there's a difference between moving away, which is a repulsion, but think about it, right? It's a
Well,
repulsion.
it actually just drops off. It's weird.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. It's
it's a
there's that
natural thing.
initial, and we're repulsed because we don't understand it. Right? We don't understand what we're seeing. We don't understand what we're experiencing. We don't, and we're repulsed by it. But all we're
Yes.
doing is separating from it. But that doesn't get us where we need to go. That gives us a space where we can start processing again what systems are present now,
Yeah.
making my repulsion, right? But you never ever think about somebody's imposing their expectation on you because from the moment you took the first breath, that's what's been happening to you the whole time. We expect you to be a good girl. What does a good girl mean?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? We expect you to be a grade A student, whatever.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And and what are you looking for? Right? So you
Right.
come into this world, you can't articulate
My
any of this,
God. I
you can't
know.
say any of this, but your BSU wants the unity. We have to be together to thrive. But by being together without understanding this, we impose expectations and we're
Totally.
actually doing the opposite.
Yes.
And now, when you're on this awakening journey, like you said, coming back to yourself, now you start looking and I'm going, well, what is this whole, the secret in manifestation? And you can create the world you want and all this because it's not true. Now, don't get me wrong. To a degree, you can, right? But we're not in control. We are this little thing. We are our own little system, if you will, in a great big soup of other systems.
Yes.
What are we doing? But we have the power, if you will, to choose as long as we are not being restricted or confined, like, jail or something like that, whatever. But see, even there, we go back to Viktor Frankl because he's the one that said, after everything's stripped away from you, you still have the ability to choose how you are, right? How you're reacting. Now, if he would have
Totally.
said, yeah, you're the system in the system, right? And I'm just like, holy cow. Like all of this is just blowing up in my head. But in the meanwhile, I'm writing this thesis. So I've got all of this wrote out. I've been floating this all out to friends and I'm going, hey, take a look at this. Tell me
Right.
what this is. Some of these guys are big time academic dudes, you know what I mean? Whatever. And now I'm getting back. This isn't pseudoscience, but it's not really science either.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you're creating this framework of what did one guy say? Framework of participation.
Oh, wow.
You're you're showing how to participate in the complexity. His word was the complexity of the society because he's not on the awakening journey. Trust me, he is not on the awakening journey. But he says you're writing this participation manual and you're showing the boundaries and the borders of what is healthy and what is not healthy. He's putting it all into this academic
Yeah.
setting of sociology and stuff like this, right? But even what he's saying, I'm going, holy cow, that's exactly what I want it to be. You know what I mean?
Right.
Granted, now we're putting it into the words of an academic, but and he goes, so it's not really pseudoscience. He says, man, you've got
That's
citations out the yang for some of the stuff you're presenting. And he says, I really love the idea. Take the word off. and then rerun your question and see what presents. And I'm like, dude, that's like the best praise I could have got, right?
Yeah.
Of course, then he goes into my formatting choices and my, okay, dude, whatever.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So,
This is so powerful and it's so deep,
and it is, and it's, I say that like I'm patting myself on the back,
but
but
it makes you look at your life differently. It makes you think about
exactly, it's
like who you became.
right. So but here's the one thing that stood out to me, like a hammer hitting a bell, right? I chose the path. I chose the path, which means whatever that path produces is what is supposed to happen, i.e., what value am I bringing to the table? Now, think about what I just said, because a lot of people would go, oh, well, you had alcoholic parents and they could point to all these, they could judge all these things as negatives, right?
Right.
Well, what I've been able to do now is look at two alcoholic parents and go, okay, those are two of the relationships of the many that were around me. But those were two of the predominant relationships. What did it produce? Well, here's the thing. When you're a kid of an alcoholic, special abusive alcoholic, right? You become so acutely aware of everything that's going on.
I'll bet.
You will notice the smallest little detail because you know what sets off if you have one of those abusive parents, right? Which I was. Well, what's funny now is when I sit here and I look at this, how would I have even been able to see any of what I just told you, lest I had learned how to see it?
Right.
I'm not
Right.
saying
I get it.
being in a relationship with alcoholics was a good thing. I am
No,
not saying that.
I get it.
I'm not presenting, hey, you needed to go through the trauma to
No.
become a good person or anything. That's not what I'm
No.
saying. But that taught me something,
Uh-huh.
and in an acute way, right? I mean, in a very, very acute way. And as I'm able to let all of that go, what I have is that experience now allows me to see, right, the
Right.
awakening journey,
Right.
right? Not, and I want to be careful how I say this, but it's like we have this other faux journey out here that's being presented.
Yes.
And I don't know what it is. I'm not
No.
saying anything negative about it in a sense, but it's this other thing that's like almost like a pacifier type of thing, like, oh, you feel bad, well, you could go do this, or you could think good thoughts, or whatever. I'm not saying don't think good thoughts. I'm just saying just because you're doing that doesn't make $1 million fall out of the sky,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Relationships start lining up. What you want to pay attention to is what relationships are around you. Where are you at? And we've heard this distilled
Exactly.
down like, you know, uh, what is it? Bad friends create bad attitude or something, whatever. One of those things when we were a kid. Okay, that's true, right? If you're going to be around a bunch of negative people, more than likely you're going to be negative or sarcastic. But what are they teaching you at the same time?
Yes.
If you can parse that
If you
apart,
can step up back and yes.
exactly. If
And
you can
then the
step it back
problem
and
we
parse
have,
it, yeah,
and then I gotta
yeah,
get on
yeah.
your
No, I
side of
got you.
town.
Yep.
But and then how much of that are you going to compress? Do you know what
Oh
I'm
yeah.
saying? Like, and
Oh
then
yeah.
it's
You got to remember you're compressing it all, which means
right. And
you're only compressing
it's
what's
kind of this
relevant
cycle.
to you
Right.
in that moment. And that's the other thing. You and I could have, I keep using you just because you're sitting here, but
Yeah, yeah.
you and I could have this romantic, intimate relationship or whatever, and we could go through this whole thing, but what I compress on my side
Oh, yes.
is not what you're
No.
compressing on your side, right? Although in that converged space, we're having these huge amounts of information go back and forth between the two of us,
And
right?
wouldn't it be great in a relationship to be able to talk about just what you just talked about, the
Yes,
detail of?
exactly. Yep.
Like,
So
what
there,
does this mean to you? What is this experience of what did that? Oh, wow.
yes. What and but the big question, the litmus test you should be asking yourself all the time, what did I just compress?
Yes.
what did I just compress?
Yes,
I was looking at the moon.
what
What did I just compress?
and so the key is, and then we're going to stop. We got to stop.
Yep.
What did I just compress is to be able to recognize that at that moment. Like, say you have a big thing that just happened.
Hmm.
You don't wait weeks to kind of think it out or just let it go. You go, okay, wait, what did I take away? But what have I left behind?
Exactly.
So it doesn't fade
Exactly.
into a foggy,
Yep.
misty mist and then
Yep.
leave me.
That's why they tell you,
What
like,
did I
in a
choose
crime
not to
scene,
take forward?
right? Like when you're in a crime scene and they say, start writing what happened right now
Yes.
because you haven't compressed everything yet.
God,
So
this
you're
is
going to
so
have details in there that you won't remember 4 hours from now because your
exactly.
brain would have tossed it away.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to wrap up with my information, purplerainhealing.com, where you can see all of my services, where I can assist you in your spiritual journey through one-on-one mentoring, where we travel your soul journey, past, present, future, and we delve down into your spiritual awakening journey, past lives, anything along those lines, future potential. We talk about the things that are going on in your journey, and we help you understand it from a larger spiritual perspective. I also offer individual sessions that will focus on channeled information and or spiritual guidance, and I also offer distance energy healing. Anyway, I would be happy to work with you. If you have any questions, fill out the form and send it over to me. I will respond within 24 hours and we'll go from there. Again, I hope you took something away from the conversation with Ron and myself and possibly the information I presented previously. And I will see you very soon for the September energy update. Thank you so much for joining me.